Alright, so this video is intended to show folks how the contemporary service sound kind of operates. We're going to start from ground zero with the board being completely off. Generally speaking, when you get here to run sound, the band would have already reloaded all of the stuff, so you'll just be manning the actual channels. But on the off chance that you come in and have a need to get things up and running yourself, I wanted to walk you through that process as well. So here you have the soundboard, and what we're going to do first is actually turn it on. So the power button is located right here, and you can see the board is coming to life. Okay, now again, I want to specify and really make sure that this is clear. Um, this board has pre-programmed settings already in it, and so to that effect, we don't want those settings being overridden, even accidentally. So as far as the scene setup is concerned, we're not going to have you actually needing to start to set the scene up. But in the interest of making sure that this video is complete, I am going to walk you through the process. Just realize that this piece right here will not need to be done when you arrive. So as you can see here, we have a scenes button. So I'm going to go ahead and hit scenes. You can see I'm using the over arrows. We're on the home tab. Sorry for the glare. We're going to go over, and we're going to use this first knob, and we're going to push it down. And now we work like a wheel, so you can turn it, and we highlight summer 2017, and we simply press the button down again. It's going to ask us if we would like to load the scene. We're going to use this arrow over here to say yes, and that's going to load all of the channels in the way that they need to be loaded. Okay, so the board is now set up. Let's take a look at the other things that need to be done. So the speakers are actually run and have a power strip located down below behind them. So we're going to go ahead and power these on. There's one there, and you can see there's a blue light on the front indicating that it is on. We'll walk across the stage here, and we'll power the other speaker on. You can see there. Okay, so now both speakers are on, and we're going to head back to the soundboard. Okay, so we're back here, and I'm going to do my best to hold the camera as still as I can while I walk through some of these key functions of this board. So first thing to note is you can see here that these buttons are illuminated red. That is indicating that that channel is muted. So in this instance, if I were to press these buttons where the word mute is located, that is going to mute that particular channel. Okay? Now those were muted by default when we loaded the original scene. Okay? So green, if you can see the indicator over here, it's a little tough to see with the lighting, so I apologize for that. Green is just showing you what you're currently selected on. Now we have two banks of channels on this particular board working. We have channels 1 through 8, and we have channels 9 through 16. Again, the glare is rough. So we have 1 through 8 and 9 through 16. Okay. Now, it's important to note that channels 1 through 8 are the instruments, and we have them listed down here accordingly. You can see the kick, conga, bass, keys, electric guitar, and acoustic guitar. Okay. And if we switch to 9 through 16, you can see here that we have 3 that are unmuted. Now, if you'd like to conceptualize it a little differently with visuals, Nell is generally on the left-hand side if you're facing the stage, then JR, and then Grant. And that is the way that it is currently on the board. And so if I were to hit the select button above the first microphone, for example, and we come over here and take a look, it actually indicates that that is Nell's microphone. Okay. Now, generally speaking, you are not going to need to mute these. These generally stay unmuted the entire time. I just wanted to walk you through so you understood what you were looking at. Okay. What you will have to mute on this particular channel, again, we are on channels 9 through 16. These are where our microphones live. What you will have to is worry about XL1 and XL2. These are the wireless lavaliers that the Reverend pastors use, and they are noted on whose is whose. So you have Buddy's and you have Jonathan's. Now, generally speaking, Emily likes to use the one that Buddy uses, but that's it doesn't really matter. So with the microphones, if you were to unmute these channels, so let's just go ahead and unmute them, and we go ahead and turn this on. So we've just hit the switch on the top of this microphone. You'll notice that if I talk through here, nothing is happening. There's a reason that nothing's happening, and that is because the wireless transmitter is not turned on. Okay, so when you come on and turn the board on, it's also a good idea to make sure that the wireless is on. Okay, so you can now see it's lit up and on. You can also see that as I talk into this microphone, you can see the bars going up and down, and you're probably wondering why they are not coming through the speakers. So this is going to lead us into the next phase of this. So currently, the instruments are going through with the monitors. Monitors are the speakers at the front of the stage. They allow the performers to actually hear themselves and the other instruments to make sure that they stay in the ranges that they'd like to stay in. Okay. So if we would like to have the sound come out of the speakers to the audience, what we need to do, and this is a very important piece, you'll notice that this group DCA 1 through 8 is highlighted. We need to actually highlight matrix C, and you can see it's kind of an orangish color. And you're going to come over here, and there's one labeled gas or main. Okay, this channel here is our main, and we're not going to slide it up very far. That's about as far up as that needs to go. So now, if I were to go ahead and grab this microphone that we were just now using, and we're going to zoom in on this channel, check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. So now I can hear myself coming through the mains as intended. And I can slightly boost this slider up if it needs to be up a little bit. Check 1 2, check 1 2. I'm going to go ahead and mute that channel. That channel is now muted. I'm trying to talk through the microphone. You can see that the level is catching my voice from the microphone. We're sending a signal, okay, but it's muted and therefore not coming through the mains. Okay. Once you've turned up the main, we can go back to the DCA 1 through 8, and we can stay there for the remainder of the session. It's possible that a band member may ask you to increase one of their channels so that it becomes louder to the audience. So again, to do this, let's use, for example, saying that JR's needing his voice to be louder. So again, we're going to go to the middle, which is JR's, and I can check this to find out if it is his by hitting select on the channel I'd like to check, and I can come simply up here and look, and you can see there that it says JR's mic. Okay, so whenever making changes to a soundboard, it's done very slowly and done in small increments, and this is so that we don't cause any feedback to happen inadvertently. Okay, so I'm just going to slide this up ever so slightly like that and look for his cues to see if that's good or bad, or whoever was in the audience, because he's actually going to hear himself through the monitors on the stage. So generally speaking, it would be somebody in the audience that would come up and say, hey, I can't really hear him. And so that's when we would make an adjustment. Okay, slide that back down. Okay, so the next thing that we need to cover is channels 17 through 24. You can see that there. So channel 17 through 24 only serves really one purpose. So if we're going to click on that, and you'll notice that these channels are all muted by default. That's exactly what we'd like. But the first two channels are unmuted. The first two channels represent the right channel and the left channel for this guy. And you guys are probably familiar with this. You might have this in your car. This is a headphone jack, as it's commonly known, or an 1/8 inch. And we use this and we plug this into the Mac laptop that is generally next to the soundboard that's running the presentation. And this is done at the beginning of when you get here. The laptop is generally here. So we're going to plug that into the headphone jack. And I don't have the Mac here, but I do have a headphone jack to show you. So we'll just simply plug that in. And now that's going to take, we're going to tell it headphone. So now that's going to take any music that I have playing on my computer and output it to the main speakers. So let's go ahead and hit play. And you can see that this is, of course, sending the signal through. So that may need to be adjusted to be louder or not. So generally speaking, what we do is we have a playlist in iTunes on the Mac of pre-approved songs, and that is playing as people are entering, awaiting for church to start. So as soon as church starts, we get a signal from the band, and we just simply mute these. Pushing it once will mute both channels for you. Okay? And we're going to actually leave that iTunes running the entire church service. And that's done so that as soon as the benediction is done, we can come over here and hit unmute, and the sound is back on as people are leaving. Okay, so you will see that the entire time. You'll see signals going up and down if you stay on that channel. So again, just to recap here, we have 1 through 8, and 1 through 8 controls the instruments. Okay, and those levels are already set and done by the scene, so those should not require very much manipulation during the show at all. 9 through 16, that is, sorry, are controlling the microphones. Okay, and again, you can see 3 microphones are unmuted by default. Again, that corresponds to Nell, JR, and Grant. And then, of course, all the way at the end, then these 2 are your wireless. So now I should be able to talk through this. Sorry about that. And it is working and coming through the mains. Okay. So lastly, it's actually the reverse order when it comes to breaking this down. Generally speaking, once everything is concluded and everyone is leaving and there's no one left, we come in here and we actually go ahead and mute all of the channels on 9 through 16 and 1 through 8. And we do this so that when they unplug their instruments, we don't encounter any weird feedback or pops through the board. Okay. And it's actually the reverse order. We turned the board on first when we first initially got here, but we're actually going to turn the board off. The board is the absolute last thing to be turned off. So that means that the speakers over there that we turned on with the power strips, those would actually get turned off prior to the board being turned off. And this is done so that there's no loud pop at the end and potentially damage to the speakers. So hopefully this has been helpful to folks in regards to how the soundboard actually operates. Again, I'm available to answer any questions should they come up.